As I mentioned in my previous video, nearly every housing market metric we're tracking right now is pointing to a housing market slowdown. So in today's video, I'm going to take a deep dive into national averages regarding home prices, housing inventory, home sales, and much more, so you guys can make a more informed decision about where you should buy or sell a house. And speaking of buying or selling a house, then check out that link below, which is homeandmoney.com/Jason, to get connected with a great real estate agent in your neck of the woods. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive right into this video here. And these are the key housing market takeaways for 400 plus US metros. And this report covers the 4-week period ending July 10th of this year. So let's first talk about home prices right now. The median sold price actually is up 12% year over year. That's to $393,000. However, this is down 0.7% from the peak during the 4-week period ending June 19th. The year-over-year growth rate is also down from March's peak of 16%. So the peak in home prices on a year-over-year basis was set in March, a gain of 16% compared to the previous year. So now we're only up 12% year-over-year. Meanwhile, the median asking price of a newly listed house increased 14% year over year, but this is down 2.8% from the all-time high that was set for the 4 weeks ending May 22nd. Also, the monthly mortgage payment on the median asking price home right now, this is based on current mortgage rates and also current home prices, hit $2,387 per month at the current 5.51% mortgage rate. That's based on Freddie Mac's weekly survey, by the way. That's up 44% from a year ago and down slightly from the peak of $2,487 that was set in June. So here's some graphics I want to share with you guys regarding home prices and this increase in the monthly housing payment. So here's the median sold price, again, a lagging indicator. This is an indication of what our housing market was like approximately 1 to 2 months ago when the home seller accepted an offer from home buyer. Again, this is a lagging indicator and very interesting to see that it started to decrease this month. So right now, the median sold price is just under $400,000. 1 year ago, it was $350,000. And again, this decrease in home prices is more normal during this time of year, but I would suspect that this year it's going to continue to decrease given the fact that housing affordability is such a big issue because of rising home prices and of course rising mortgage rates. And meanwhile, the median asking price again is up 14.2% year over year, but has been declining ever since basically May of this year. Compare that to 2021. In 2021, the asking prices was fairly flat from May all the way until the end of November. But what's different this year compared to last year? Last year, again, it was flat. We didn't have this decrease like we've been seeing over the past month. So it's going to be interesting to see what this does in the last half of this year. And here's a graphic depiction showing the average monthly mortgage payments for home buyers right now. Again, up 43.5% compared to a year ago. As you guys can see, not sustainable. We can't have growth like this increase from approximately, I think this was $1,675 as of January 1st of this year. A little bit higher compared to the past couple of years, but right now, absolutely insane, up 43.5%. And this is why we're seeing this pullback in home buying demand right now. Okay, changing gears slightly, let's talk about pending home sales, new listings, and active listing inventory or housing supply. So big differences here. So pending home sales are down 14% year over year, the largest decline since May 2020. I mean, virtually every housing market update that Redfin's posting on a weekly basis, they are reporting the biggest decline since May 2020 for pending home sales. So pending home sales have been on a declining trend for quite some time. And this is one reason why housing supply has been increasing. So new listings, this is a measure of houses being listed for sale, is down 1.7% from 1 year ago. Meanwhile, though, active listings, which of course is housing supply, rose 1.3% year over year, the largest increase since August 2019. This is very telling because you know our housing market's very hot over the past couple of years when we had the biggest increase on a year-over-year basis of housing supply when it only rose 1.3% compared to a year ago. Obviously, over the past couple of years, we've had a decrease on a year-over-year basis for active listings because housing demand was basically skyrocketing. And so any house that got listed for sale was basically getting gobbled up by a home buyer, which of course was depleting housing supply. So it's a pretty interesting dynamic right now because we're seeing fewer contracts signed, down 14%. New listings also down. However, active listings, which of course is the total number of houses for sale, increasing. So we're not seeing an increase of housing supply due to a big increase of new listings because new listings are down. So we're seeing an increase of housing supply due to a decrease in home buying demand. This is because it's taking longer for houses to sell right now, and also we're seeing fewer houses get under contract because we're seeing pending home sales down 14%. All right, let's have a look at pending home sales over the past couple of years and also new listings and housing supply. Pending home sales have been declining really ever since May of this year, but they basically were in line with 2021, which is the blue line right here, ever since April. Then April hit, mortgage rates surpassed 5% for the first time since basically 2018. So we saw us pull back in home buying demand basically ever since then. Now down 14.1%, also approaching the levels we've had in 2020 right now as well. And also regarding new listings, we're basically on par compared to last year, only down 1.7%. And that's been the story or the trend we've seen so far this year, because in the red line right here is 2022, the blue line is 2021. But ever since January of this year, the number of new listings has basically been on par with last year's numbers. So we're not seeing this big increase of new listings in general in the United States right now. However, every housing market is different. We are seeing big increases of new listings and housing supply in other markets such as Boise, Idaho, for example. So pending home sales are down and also new listings are down, but active listings have been increasing. So at the start of this year, active listings were down about 20%, as you guys all know if you follow the channel. And now we've had surpassed 2021's levels over the past few weeks now. And if I had to guess, I would imagine that active listings or housing supply is going to continue to increase given the fact we're seeing this huge pullback in home buying demand right now. Of course, time will tell, and I'll definitely keep you posted. And like I mentioned, houses right now are not selling as fast, and that's one reason why housing supply has been increasing. So right now, approximately 43% of pending home sales went under contract within the first 2 weeks. In other words, approximately 4 of every 10 houses that gets listed for sale becomes a pending home sale within the first 2 weeks of hitting the market. In other words, the home seller accepts an offer within the first 2 weeks. So what's interesting regarding this is that the peak was basically in approximately March or April, when that share was approximately 56%. Now we're down to 43%, so now declining very close to levels we saw back in 2020. As you can see here, this big decrease of contracts signed within the first 2 weeks has been declining really ever since the middle of May. Redfin is also reporting that we're seeing far fewer houses going into contract within 1 week. In other words, selling very quickly. So right now it's 29.3%, actually below 2020's levels right now. And look at this. In March and April of this year, it was actually over 40%, and now we're down to 29%. So right now, approximately 3 of every 10 houses that are under contract right now went under contract within 1 week. Also, the median days on the market has been increasing slightly. We're basically at 18 days right now, which basically means the time period when a home seller lists their house for sale to when they ultimately accept an offer from a home buyer. The key word here, though, is for sold houses. It only includes houses that have been sold. Therefore, it's a lagging indicator. But obviously, it's a step in the right direction because we basically had all-time record lows of approximately 15 days from about a couple of months ago. And now we're at 18 days and now almost surpassing last year's levels. Of course, it's worth mentioning that 18 days on the market, it's still very, very fast because back in 2020, the days on the market was just over 40 days. Another declining trend we're seeing right now is the percent of houses that have been selling over their asking price. So right now, 50.6% of houses sold above their asking price, and this is actually below 2021's levels. And again, the peak was set basically in May of this year for this metric, but back in 2021, it was in July. Also, like I mentioned in my previous video here, on average, 7.1% of houses each week had a price drop, and that's an all-time record high. So take a look at these graphics here. I actually shared this in my previous video. Right now, the share is 7.1%. That's more than twice a share back in 2020 and 2021. And the trajectory has basically been going straight up and not holding back. But take a look at this because this graphic I did not share with you guys. So the previous peak over the past, 7 years, since 2015, was in October 6th of 2019, when the share was 5.2%. Right now, it's 7.1% though, far higher than the previous peak that was set back in 2019. And to me, this is one of the most eye-opening graphics in today's video because the share of price reductions is basically going straight up this year. And this is pretty astonishing because we can't have record high home prices and record high price reductions. So in my opinion, we're going to be seeing a decrease in home prices in the second half of this year. And yet another declining trend we're seeing right now that's indicative of a housing market slowdown is this. This is the sale price to list price ratio, which is 101.6% for the 4 weeks ending July 10th. So what this basically means for this time period here is that home sellers sold their houses for 1.6% over their asking price. Compare that to 1 year ago, it was just over 2%. And this metric really peaked in July of last year, but now this year it peaked back in May. Last but not least, as you guys may know, I report often Redfin's housing market updates. One reason for that is the timely manner they do this because Realtor.com and Redfin post much more timely housing market updates compared to the California Association of Realtors, the National Association of Realtors, and especially CoreLogic. So this report here obviously encompasses July, which is really good because we're basically in the middle of July right now. But if we want to look at housing trends according to the National Association of Realtors, we basically have to wait 3 to 4 weeks. So June's existing home sales is not going to be published until July 20th, basically 3 weeks after the month end. And the pending home sale index, pending home sales, is not going to be released until July 27th for June. And CoreLogic even lags more behind because CoreLogic actually just announced on July 5th, May 2022 housing market stats. Therefore, CoreLogic reports housing market trends approximately 1 to 2 months behind. One thing I want to mention though is that all three of these websites offer really good housing market trends and housing stats. So if you guys appreciate me sharing multiple sources so you guys can make a more informed decision about whether you should buy or sell a house. With that said, if you guys got any value out of today's video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Look forward to seeing you on the next video.